again to see that this is in fact working. It always does. It always seems to work. But no. Is there no volume this time? Oh yes, there is. Huh. Yes, there is. There is. Okay, very good. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming back again. And I'm just going to jump right into it. Read chapter 37 and 38. And this is Jack to the rescue. Let me just move this. Put this here, put this here. Make sure everything's right. Everything's going well. Okay. Excellent. We have a hair. Okay. 37 and 38. Jack to the rescue. Rehearsals were over. 2 performances of Joseph, one on Thursday afternoon for the school and any small brothers and sisters who wanted to attend, and the other on Friday evening to the public, had both been a resounding success. Oh, whew, I need that chai. Okay, sorry, focus. Saturday evening arrived, and with it the final performance of the school musical. Excitement was building in the school hall. Jack made his way to check up on Kate. He found her in the cubicle that served as her dressing room. It's only about 4:30, and already most of the cast is here, he said in amazement. Everyone is stoked. Kate gave a gasp. Annabel glanced up at her friend as she laid out Kate's costume. She had appointed herself as Kate's dresser and cheerleader. Kate paced up and down the confined area, trying to still her rising panic. What if I forget my words? What if my voice isn't good enough or loud enough? She babbled, anxiety rising in her voice. It's not surprising that you're having last-minute nerves, Annabel answered cheerfully. You had so many words to learn. How you did it, I will never know. Good work, you. Well, thank you, Kate answered, touched by her friend's praise. But what if something goes wrong? Do I look all right? Kate's costume showed off her lean, beautiful body, harem-style trousers and a short top that revealed her midriff. There had been some heated discussions with Mynheer Groenewold before he allowed Kate to dress like that. But Kate had prevailed, and in the end her father had unwillingly conceded. I'd say yes, Annabel nodded. What do you think, Jack? Jack turned to Kate and smiled into her sparkling green eyes. Then he reached for her, wrapping his arms around her as they hugged. What can I say but break a leg, he laughed, and released her. She gave him her lopsided smile. I can't believe this is the last performance, Kate said. After all these months of rehearsals and living on the edge. Never enough time to do our homework. Never enough time for anything. Just Joseph, Joseph, Joseph. And after this, no more excitement. Tonight will be great, Jack laughed. It's all gone so smoothly. And I must say, I've enjoyed it more than I thought that I would. Me too, Kate agreed. It's been quite an experience being the narrator. Okay, Summerfield, let me finish putting on my makeup. Remember, after party at my grandparents', Jack said. She turned and smiled, giving him a thumbs up. Jack strode off to do a final check that was all ready for the opening curtain. His eye was caught by a woeful figure. Solomon weaved unsteadily over the stage, making for the wings. You doing all right? Jack asked. I feel sick, Solomon told him. He was sweating and his face was an unhealthy colour. Jack laughed. Stage fright? After all the past performances? You don't understand. All my family is coming tonight. My grandparents, my uncles and aunts, everyone. Oh, don't worry. You'll be great, Jack said. Let's go and see the makeup team and they will transform you. And take deep breaths. That always helps. You'll do fine. Believe me. Jack put a reassuring hand on Solomon's shoulder and led him back to where the girls were. He handed Solomon into Annabelle's capable hands. Who is this? Ah, yes, one of the children of Israel, she said. Jack heard Solomon's giggle and saw him relax. Jack wove his way back through the growing crowds of players. Backstage was a kaleidoscope of brightly coloured costumes, shrieking voices, stomping feet, and the heady smell of creams and powders. The stage managers tutted and strutted, desperate to make sure everything was perfect. Members of the cast made for the dressing rooms, where they eased into their costumes. More and more of the cast crowded backstage. Jack's exhilaration grew with every moment, as did his anxiety. He was aware of the smell of the makeup hanging in the air, the flash of colour as the cast, in their bright outfits, rushed by, bumping into him or pushing past where he stood, and the sound of chattering interspersed with the occasional screech. This was what they had all worked so hard for over the last interminable weeks. Suddenly his stomach lurched, and he felt as if he had caught Kate's panic. What if the scenery wasn't good enough? What if Jacob's canopy collapsed? He knew it would be all right. The other performances had gone without a glitch, but he couldn't help the butterflies. Have you seen Joseph? Asked Mr. Porter. He looked harassed, and his large red face was sweating profusely. No, now that you mention it, I haven't, Jack said, a vague feeling of unease adding to his unrest. He won't be far, though. He's so reliable. Humph, Mr. Porter said. Keep an eye out for me and tell me when you see him. Knocking on Kate's dressing room door, Mr. Porter poked his head in. Have you seen Joseph? Joseph was nowhere to be found. But Jacob and the brothers, dressed in ancient rustic gear, chose that moment to invade Kate's dressing room, seeking reassurance that they looked the part and that their colours synchronized. Kate and Annabel assumed their roles of dresser and advice giver. Mr. Porter drifted off, looking bemused. Okay, I'm dressed now, said Jacob. Who's going to do my makeup? He was shouted down. Do it yourself! His disrespectful sons howled, and in the happy, animated company, they too either applied their own makeup or called for one of the makeup artists to help. Back on the stage, Jack was supervising Timothy and the rest of his behind-the-scenes team. They had all worked hard, setting up the opening scene featuring the backdrop of the desert and the canopy where Jacob the patriarch sat. Suddenly Jack was distracted by Solomon tugging at his sleeve. Solomon, usually so sassy and street smart, looked as sick as he had earlier when Jack had handed him over to Annabel. I've got something to tell you, Solomon said in a scared voice. It's very important. Please listen. Just then Mr. Porter walked by, his portly form swaying. Mr. Porter had light-heartedly taken on the task of production stage manager, coordinating the production from scheduling to cues and more, of seeing that the cast was all present and accounted for and doing what they were supposed to be doing. It was an unenviable job, and he now felt rather like herding cats. There you are, Jack, he said. Good. Now we need to find Ramon Garcia. Surely you've seen him this afternoon? No, I haven't seen him, Jack said with a look of concern. I did look around when you asked earlier. I wonder where he is. He's usually here early. I'll keep on looking, Mr. Porter said. The thing is, everything depends on him. We can't start without the leading man. He wandered off, anxiously biting his lip. Jack felt another tug on his sleeve. He looked down into Solomon's anguished face. He was hopping up and down and breathing hard. Come with me, he begged. I'm busy, can't you see? Jack said impatiently, making fists out of his hands and shaking his arms, the picture of frustration. I can't go anywhere. Where do you want to take me? And why? It's Ramon. I saw something. I think I saw something. A big, scary-looking man. He said it would be the worst for me if I told anyone. He tried to grab me, but I ran away, and I didn't tell anyone all afternoon. But Mr. Porter keeps on asking for Ramon, and I think I saw Ramon. Solomon's words added to Jack's growing feeling of horror as he contemplated the unthinkable. A missing leading man. Solomon was trembling. Jack seized him by the shoulders. Solomon, I swear, if this is your idea of a joke, he began. Solomon began to shake so strongly that Jack feared he was about to have convulsions. He changed his tactics. Okay, come on, buddy. No need to be scared. We'll sort this out, Jack said, sounding more confident than he felt. What was going on? The leading man was nowhere to be found. What if Solomon was telling the truth and he'd seen something happen to Ramon? Jack considered enlisting Mr. Porter in sorting out the puzzle, but thought the better of it. Time was of the essence, and he didn't have any facts. Please hurry, Solomon begged. Adam, Jack called, tell Timothy to finish setting up here. We've got plenty of time before the curtain goes up. I've got to go somewhere. I won't be long. His voice sounded calm, not reflecting the panic rising through his body and down his arms, ready to burst out. I think I saw something. Whatever did that mean? All Jack could think was that Ramon was in trouble. Solomon's reference to a big scary man was relegated to the back of his mind as he prepared to tackle the immediate crisis, the whereabouts of the leading man. Solomon looked up at him and gave a sigh of gratitude. Now all will be well, he seemed to say. Jack quailed at the implied responsibility, but he gave Solomon a friendly shove, and all he said was, off we go, promise to be quick. No, Jack, hold on, Adam said. What's going on? You can't leave now. It's Ramon. Solomon has some information about him, though I'm not sure what it is. I'm just going off to investigate. I'll be back before you know it. He disappeared off the stage. Solomon was waiting for him by the main door. When he saw Jack, he attempted a grin, which turned to a grimace. Turning, he led the way at breakneck speed out of the hall, along the walkway, down the stairs, across the playground, past the prefect's common room, and towards the new bleachers. He stopped suddenly, and Jack collided into him. Before them was the sports pavilion, and they could make out the silhouette of the new announcer's box, darker against the late afternoon sky. It was a tower-like structure, as the box itself was placed so that it removed interference from the noise of the crowds, while at the same time allowing the announcers and commentators to get a good view. And it could only be reached by a rather steep ladder-like step inside the pavilion. The pavilion was an old building with thick walls and thick safety glass. A cricket ball too many? And this too served to muffle the sound. The generators that worked the lights on the rugby field and the visitors' car park hummed noisily, although the huge security light that usually beamed onto the section of the rugby field nearest the science classroom area was unaccountably not working. Solomon spoke barely above a whisper. "That's where I saw it." "What? What did you see?" "This is the sports pavilion." "The big man threw Ramon in there." Jack couldn't believe his ears. "Say what?" he said, then froze in horror as he heard an eerie cry. He hunkered down like a tortoise subsiding beneath its shell and strained his ears to hear where the sound came from. "Who's that?" Jack stood as another groan rent the air. "Ramon, is that you? What on earth is going on?" Jack stumbled across the path and attempted to peer through the window. There, on the ground, lay a shadowy form that he realized, with a sick feeling, had to be Ramon. The horror of the situation hit Jack. He realized that he didn't have a clue what was going on, but his instinct was screaming at him that he faced a life or death situation. He had to get help, but how? Abandon Ramon and run for help? Never. Nevertheless, getting help for Ramon was vital. He lowered himself from the window and, keeping in the shadows, he made his way back to where Solomon was sitting. "Solomon," said Jack, "you have been so brave. Now I need you to do something else for me. Go and find Mr. Porter and tell him that I need him. Keep saying my name. If he argues with you, just say, 'Jack told me to fetch you.'" "What if they catch me?" Solomon gulped. "You don't know how awful they are, and Mr. Porter will never believe me." "I won't let them hurt you," Jack promised, "but you have to do this. Don't think about it. Just do it. Bring him right back here and tell him to bring a torch. Now go." Jack held his breath, not sure what Solomon would do, then exhaled as Solomon, obedient to the determination in Jack's voice, noiselessly crept away and ran off. Jack made his way back to the pavilion where Ramon was imprisoned. He felt along the top of the door where the key was hidden by the prefects. It was one of their duties to make the place habitable before a match, so the key was out of sight, yet available when needed. His fingers closed on the key, and he inserted it into the lock and then opened the door. He stepped inside, leaving the key in the lock. "Thank heavens you're here! I'm hurt," Ramon gasped. "Those bastards have broken my arm, I think." He groaned heart-wrenchingly. Chapter 38. The plot thickens. When Jack leapt down off the stage and rushed after Solomon, Adam was flummoxed. He sought out Kate and poured out his worries. "Something doesn't seem right," he said. "Why would Jack listen to one of Solomon's stories? We all know what little skellum he is, and how would he know anything about Ramon?" "It's a mystery, that's for sure," Adam said, his eyes lighting up at the thought, his detective instinct screaming. There was no way he was going to be left out of this adventure. "Ramon knows he has to be here in plenty of time to get into his costume and put on his makeup. We'd better follow Jack. Are you coming?" They rushed after their friend, but they couldn't see where he had gone. "Follow me," yelled Adam. "I think they went down to the rugby field." Together, Kate and Adam galloped down towards the field and jumped over the safety fence that separated the players from the spectators. They ran onto the field, shouting Jack's name. They were met by unnerving silence. It was spooky and spine-chilling on the vast empty field, and it was beginning to get dark. They stood shivering as the shadows of early evening crept over the field and engulfed them both. All of a sudden, they became aware of a commotion going on above them. They both turned and retraced their steps from the field up to the top tier of the bleachers and arrived panting, knees straining, upper torsos bent forward. "There's Jack, coming out of the pavilion over there." Adam gulped. He checked for a moment to catch his breath, and he heard Kate gasp. He and Kate watched, hair on end, at the scene unfolding in slow motion before their eyes. They were not the only horrified onlookers. From behind them, Zachary appeared, apparently out of nowhere, and came running towards them, shouting. Jack hurtled out of the door just as two men stepped out of the shadow, accosting Jack and manhandling back towards the pavilion door in full view of his horrified friends. "Come on, Kate, we have to help," Adam yelled. The two men whirled as they heard him. They pushed Jack into the murky depths of the pavilion with such force that he fell, stunned, unable to move. Then the two menacing figures stood side by side to meet the attack from Adam and Kate. Zachary was just behind them, his feet pounding the earth. Adam registered with horror what was happening, and too late he realized that he and Kate were running into danger. He tried to grab Kate by the shoulder and pull her back. "Kate, Kate, hold on," he shouted. It was too late. They tried to turn, but they could not stop in time. The two men grabbed them and pushed them roughly into the room, then turned to do the same to Zachary. Intent on the task, the men failed to see Innocent stagger up the steps from the rugby field, then veer off to the left and stumble into the shadows. Adam, Kate, and Zachary collapsed on top of Jack into a heap on the floor inside the darkness of the sports pavilion. They heard the sound of the door slamming shut and the grating of the key as it turned in the lock. Then their flesh crawled. They heard an anguished groan from the depths of the inky darkness. Ramon gabbled, trying to explain the events of the last few hours. "The scary old man picked me up this afternoon when I was walking to school. I shouldn't have accepted the lift, but I was late, and his car was a Merc. He seemed friendly, then he started spewing this awful garbage. He started going on about how he was going to bring Mynheer de Villiers to his knees and humiliate him in front of the whole of Barberton. He said he was going to make sure I didn't show up for the performance tonight." "So what happened?" asked Kate. "How did you land up in here?" Kate followed his voice. When her eyes got used to the darkness, she was able to make out the shape of Ramon's body. She sat down next to him. In the long weeks she and Ramon had been working together on the musical, she'd come to like him a lot. He wasn't a great singer, although he did his best. Ramon would never set the world on fire, but there was no malice in him. "Well, he stopped the car by the pedestrian gate, and two huge men came and opened the door and pulled me out. I was sure someone would come along and help me, but there was no one around. One of the men picked me up, and then they threw me in here, and they said they were going to get Jack as well because he was in charge of the lights and the stage. That's when they broke my arm." His voice wavered and broke, and he exhaled on a shuddering note. "I'm so sorry. I've been such a coward. I was so frightened. And they were punching me and kicking me." His voice trailed off and he gave a watery sob followed by a sniff as he caught his breath. Kate's heart was wrung. Abruptly Jack stood. The darkness tilted around him and nausea invaded his throat. He put his head in his hands and moved unsteadily to lean against the wall. "Enough talk. Time for moving on. Time is moving on. If we don't get out of here, it'll be a disaster for Mynheer de Villiers and the whole school." For the first time, Zachary spoke. "Don't worry. Innocent was with me. He'll get help. What's all this got to do with Mynheer de Villiers?" That's what those thugs were saying. They're aiming to fix Mynheer de Villiers once and for all. They say they're going to show the world who's calling the shots. Mynheer de Villiers will never again be able to hold his head up. Ramon's voice quavered. Jack stepped away from the wall. Solomon knows where we are, and I've sent him to bring help. In the meantime, we've just got to get out. Adam snorted. For once he sounded defeated. How can we possibly? You heard the door lock. No one can see us or hear us. The security light is not working, and this room is virtually soundproofed. The walls are so thick. It's true, Ramon said. I've been in here for hours, it seems. And no one will ever suspect we're locked in here. You didn't tell anyone where you were going, did you, Jack? Kate asked. No, Kate, I didn't tell anyone. But remember, Innocent must have seen something, as Zachary says, and I did send Solomon to get help. It all depends on him now. Don't worry, Zachary's voice was loud and confident. Between Solomon and Innocent, we'll get out of this. They turned to follow Zachary's voice. Solomon, Adam said. His voice had a hollow note. Now, what are we going to do? Ooh, exciting. What a place to stop. Okay, well, tomorrow night to find out what happens next. Do they spoil the play? Thank you for joining me. See you tomorrow.